أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Verse number 259. أو كالذي مر على قرية وهي خاوية على عروشها. Or him who came upon a township as it lay fallen on its roofs. قال أنى يحيي هذه الله بعد موتها فأماته الله 100 عام ثم بعثه. He said, how will Allah revive this after its death? So Allah made him die for 100 years. Then he resurrected him. قال كم لبثت؟ قال لبثت يوما أو بعض يوم. He said, how long have you remained? He said, I have remained a day or part of a day. قال بل لبثت 100 عام فانظر إلى طعامك وشرابك لم يتسنه وانظر إلى حمارك ولنجعلك آية للناس. He said, rather you have remained 100 years, now look at your food and drink, which have not rotted. Then look at your donkey. This was done that we may make you a sign for mankind. وانظر إلى العظام كيف ننشزها ثم نكسوها لحما فلما تبين له قال أعلم أن الله على كل شيء قدير. And look at the bones, how we arranged them and then clothed them with flesh. When it became evident to him, he said, I know that Allah has power over all things. This is the first example for the wilaya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over the faithful. Allahu waliyyu alladhina amanu yukhrijuhum min adh-dhulumati ila an-nur. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَوْلِيَاءُهُمُ الطَّاغُوتُ يُخْرِجُونَهُم مِّنَ النُّورِ إِلَى الظُّلُمَاتِ. The example of وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَوْلِيَاءُهُمُ الطَّاغُوتُ يُخْرِجُونَهُم مِّنَ النُّورِ إِلَى الظُّلُمَاتِ. Those who disbelieve their guardians of the rebel, Shaitan, and take them out of light to darkness was given in the previous incident between Ibrahim and Namrud. Now, two examples are mentioned about how Allah takes the believers into light at two different degrees of light. One is this one, and the other one is the example of Ibrahim alayhi salam when he wanted to see how Allah revives the dead. Now, here as well, this man, of whom we'll talk, this honorable man to whom we'll talk later, inshallah, he wanted to see how Allah revives the dead. And Allah made him died for 100 years and then revived him to show him how Allah revives the dead. In the case of Ibrahim, the light to which Allah took him was even greater, even brighter. Allah told him to do it, actually authorized him to revive the dead, to see how it happens, how it comes true. So these are, of course, very extreme examples of when Allah takes charge of the believers and take them into light, to mention that it happens to every believer, however, at different degrees. At different degrees in the sense that Allah would support their heart, would strengthen their faith by different signs, by different ayat that He shows to them every day. And He is the wali that never ceases, never stops to guide the believers. Allahu waliyyu alladhina amanu يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور. Now, about this person, أو كالذي مر على قرية, or him, this أو كالذي means, refers back to what Allah mentioned about Namrud and Ibrahim. ألم تر إلى الذي حاج إبراهيم في ربه. Did you not regard the man who was arguing Ibrahim in his Lord, or him, or do you not regard him who came upon a township as it lay fallen on its roof? Now, about this person, certainly this person was a prophet, because Allah talks to him. He is familiar with this communication with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's not surprised by Allah talking to him, so he was a prophet. Some say that he was Uzair or Ezra, as it's mentioned in the Bible. Or some say he was Eremia, And actually, some say Eremiah and Uzair were actually one and the same, was one and the same person. Anyhow, the famous account is that he was Uzair. Uzair, of course, was a very prominent person in Judaism, to the extent that the Quran says the Jews at the time of the Prophet believed that he was son of God. Now, maybe, as I said, because the Torah that they were reading that, in those times was a bit different from the Torah in our hand, the Arabic version or the Hebrew version that they had, not the Arabic version, the Hebrew version that they had was a bit different. And in that version of the Bible, the description of our Prophet was explained very clearly, and that is why the Quran says that الَّذِينَ آتَيْنَاهُمُ الْكِتَابِ يَعْرِفُونَهُ كَمَا يَعْرِفُونَ أَبْنَاءَهُم. They know him as they know their sons because of the descriptions. And one of the things which may have been in that Torah or in that Bible or in common understanding of the Jews of that time, that they believed that Uzair was son of God, or a sect of Judaism believed that. Anyhow, وَقَالَتِ الْيَهُودُ أُزَيْرٌ ابْنُ اللَّهِ, as it's mentioned in the Quran. The Jews say that Uzair is son of God. Now, why he was so prominent? Because after Nebuchadnezzar attacked Jerusalem and captured the old Jews and took them to Babylon, he burnt the Bible and destroyed Bible altogether, the main copy of the Bible, and people didn't have actually an account of the Bible at that time for a long time, until the time of Uzair, who actually came after Nebuchadnezzar had destroyed Jerusalem, and he was able, Allah had actually given him that blessing that he knew the Bible by heart, and he read the Bible again for the Jews after, of course, they returned to Jerusalem. The Cyrus actually made them return to Jerusalem. He read out the Bible to them again, and they wrote it down, and that's why he became a very, very prominent personality. Now, if this is about Uzair, and some say this Qarya, this city by which he passed, it was Jerusalem, after Nebuchadnezzar had destroyed it and had killed many people, captured many. The people who were dead were just left there on the ground without being buried and rotted gradually. And he came by this city and saw everyone dead. And some say it was Jericho, some say it was another place. Anyhow, that's not a point of the ayah. The verse tries to say that something happened like this, that this prophet passed by a city, مر على قرية وهي خاوية على عروشها. خاوية means خالي, empty. Now, على عروشها may mean it was standing on its walls, means the houses were intact. The city was not ruined, but the people were all dead. خاوية على عروشها may mean خالية على عروشها. It was on its pillars, but the people were dead. It was empty. Or some say, as it is translated here, it was fallen on its roofs. It means the roof had fallen and the pillars were fallen on them. The utter destruction of the city, either by attack of an enemy or by an earthquake or something like that. If it is another city other than Jericho or Jerusalem, it may have been due to an earthquake, something. The houses were fallen on its roof and the people were all dead, and no one was there to bury them, and they were all exposed to air, rotten and dismembered in a very, very sort of ugly situation. So, أو كالذي مر على قرية وهي خاوية على عروشها. Now, قال أنا يحيي هذه الله بعد موتها. After seeing these rotten bodies, which were disfigured, very ugly, maybe some of them turned into bone, the question came to his mind that how Allah would revive these. Not would Allah revive us. Of course, he was a prophet. He certainly believed in that. He just asked, how would it happen? It was a sort of scientific question for himself, that how Allah would do this. And قَالَ أَنَّا يُحْيِي هَذِهِ اللَّهُ بَعْدَ مَوْتِهَا. Now, because he was a prophet, because he was a very honorable and prominent man, Allah accepted to answer his question, his scientific question actually, that how this will happen. How is it, with what process these dead bodies would come to life again. فَأَمَاتَهُ اللَّهُ مِئَةَ عَامٍ ثُمَّ بَعَثَهُ. So Allah made him die for 100 years, and then he revived him, he resurrected him. There's one hadith from Imam Ali alayhi salam, who says, إن أزيرا خرج من أهله وامرأته حامل وله 50 سنة. Uzair moved out of his house, and his wife was pregnant, and he was 50 years old. And Allah made him die 100 years, and then revived him, resurrected him. He came back to his house, and he was still 50 years old. And there was a son, that son that was in the womb of his wife, the wife was pregnant, was born and had not died yet, and he was 150, he was 100 years old. He was 100 years old. So the son was actually older than the father. فَذَلِكَ مِنْ آيَاتِ اللَّهِ. This is from Ayatullah, this may happen. This happened for Ashabul Kahf as well, isn't it? After they died for 300 years, going back, of course, there was no one else to see. They could see their grandchildren. But these things are somehow thought-provoking, if one wants to talk about it. Actually, there is a hadith that one of the Jewish scholars asked the Prophet, that tell me about two people, two brothers, who were born at the same time, in the same year, and died in the same year. But one of them was 50 years old, and the other one was 150 years old, asking about this story. And so probably this story, if this hadith is correct, this story was known to Jews as well, the story of this city and this man. And the Prophet said it was the story of this man who actually was resurrected after 100 years. Anyhow, so about أَنَّا يُحْيِي هَذِهِ اللَّهُ بَعْدَ مَوْتِهَا, how Allah revives them. It says that it was not something that would have surprised him, that Allah would revive, because he fully believed in the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it's like when, for example, we ask, how would the people of paradise live in paradise? That doesn't mean that we do not believe in it. Or how would the people of hell be punished with those punishments with the hell? If we ask it, it doesn't mean that we do not believe in it. We believe in it, but we are interested to know how these things would happen, how these things would actually take place. So with Uzair, or whoever this prophet was, the question was like this: how it happens? He was fully, of course, faithful in the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah made him die for 100 years, and he resurrected them. قَالَ كَمْ لَبِثْتَ. He said, how long did you stay? قَالَ لَبِثْتُ يَوْمًا أَوْ بَعْضَ يَوْمٍ. Of course, because it was a very deep sleep, he thought that he had slept a day. But when he looked at the sun, he died in the morning, woke up in the afternoon, and he said, or maybe half a day, because he didn't know had the day passed or not. And there is a very interesting point made here by Allama Tabatabai. He says that this shows actually when the dead are resurrected, they really don't know how long has passed, what length of duration they have been actually staying. It's like a short sleep to everyone. Now, one may say that after we die, we stay in barzakh for a long time, and this, when we are resurrected, certainly we know about it. We know about this long time. So the question, like what we have in the Quran, is this ayah, وَيَوْمَ تَقُومُ السَّاعَةُ يُقْسِمُ الْمُجْرِمُونَ, the day when the Sa'ah is held up, the mujrimun would make an oath or swear that مَا لَبِثُوا غَيْرَ سَاعَةٍ, it was only 1 hour that they stayed. كَذَلِكَ كَانُوا يُؤْفَكُونَ, it's like what they were actually conjecturing in the previous world. You know, many things we conjecture in this world. We don't know about it. This is the way they were doing in that world, they are doing now after they are resurrected, conjecturing, making false statements without any proof. وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ وَالْإِيمَانَ لَقَدْ لَبِثْتُمْ فِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْبَعْثِ. But those who are given knowledge and faith, so it means that even after we are resurrected, there are some people who are aware and have knowledge of everything. Exactly the same as in this world, there are some people who are aware and have knowledge of everything. After we are resurrected, as well the same thing. وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ وَالْإِيمَانَ لَقَدْ لَبِثْتُمْ فِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْبَعْثِ. You are wrong. It was not 1 hour. You have stayed in the book of Allah until the day of resurrection. فَهَذَا يَوْمُ الْبَعْثِ. This is the day of resurrection. So they actually falsify their conjecture that we stayed only for 1 hour. Now, if it's about barzakh, we know when we are resurrected, the same as we remember what happened in this world, we should remember what happened in barzakh as well. And therefore, the resurrection shouldn't seem to be like, for example, we were sleeping for 1 hour. However, this probably talks about the death after barzakh. Because we know that when the trumpet is blown, every soul will die. And those who are in barzakh will die. And that death, which may take several billion of years, as we have in many narrations, several billions of years would pass before resurrection happens. When people are resurrected, they think that they were just sleeping for an hour or something like that, or a day or something like that. And of course, the length of the sleeping is not mentioned. It's just that you remain in the book of Allah, in the knowledge of Allah, or whatever that book may mean, until the day of resurrection. How many years, how many millions or billions of years, we don't know, but it seems to them only for like 1 hour. Anyhow, this 100 years, exactly like the 300 years of Ashab al-Kahf, that's they remained after they woke up. They said, maybe we slept for a day or part of a day. And this makes a pattern for us to know that death is like a short sleep. After we wake up from death, it's just like a short sleep for us. قَالَ بَلْ لَبِثْتَ مِئَةَ عَامٍ. Now you stayed here for 100 years. فَانْظُرْ إِلَىٰ طَعَامِكَ وَشَرَابِكَ لَمْ يَتَسَنَّهْ. Now, look at your drink and look at your food. They haven't rotted. Most of the narrations say that he had some juice with him. What juice, we don't know. And he had some grape and some figs. Fresh grapes and fresh figs he had with him. And these actually are fruits which rot very quickly. However, after these 100 years, they had not rotten. And Allah said, look at them. فَانْظُرْ إِلَىٰ طَعَامِكَ وَشَرَابِكَ لَمْ يَتَسَنَّهْ. Now, this would have actually corroborated his thought that he had stayed only for a day or half a day. However, Allah said, وَانْظُرْ إِلَىٰ حِمَارِكَ. Now, look at your donkey. The donkey was bones. It was all gone. So look at the difference. Look at your food. With the power of Allah, they were kept fresh. And look at your donkey, it's dead. So by comparison between the two, he could say that, yes, of course, these fruits were kept alive in this way, not rotten. And the donkey was dead. Of course, what had happened to the people was not important anymore now, because Allah was not going to revive those dead people. It was just to show him how life comes back to a living being. So he took his donkey as an example of how life comes back. Now this ayah and the ayah after it shows that the animals will be resurrected physically on the day of resurrection, just the way we will be resurrected physically on the day of resurrection. So, فَانْظُرْ إِلَى حِمَارِكَ, look at your donkey. Now, why I'm doing this to you? First of all, for you to know, وَلَنَجْعَلَكَ آيَةً لِلنَّاسِ means that there was something before it. Allah told him that, because this wav means this is actually joined to a sentence before that. So, first of all, you wanted to know how I give life to the dead. Now see, in front of your eyes, I revive your donkey, and see how it happens. And secondly, وَلَنَجْعَلَكَ آيَةً لِلنَّاسِ, I want to make you a sign for the people. Of course, the people of his time, because later on he went to his people, Uzair, he read out the Bible to them. He showed signs that he was Uzair, because of course everyone in his time had, his contemporaries had passed away, and people had heard about Uzair, so he showed signs that he was Uzair, and he mentioned his story, so he became an ayah, a miracle for the people of his time. وَلِنَجْعَلَكَ آيَةً لِلنَّاسِ. Now, let me show you how life comes back to the dead. وَانْظُرْ إِلَى الْعِظَامِ كَيْفَ نُنْشِزُهَا ثُمَّ نَكْسُوهَا لَحْمًا. Look at the bones, how we arrange them and then clothe them with flesh. نُنْشِزُهَا may mean we arrange them, or the chemicals in it, how it moves, how life comes into them. Nunshizuha may mean sort of moving or arranging. So how we arrange them, or how it moves, life comes back to the cells, to the dead cells of this bone. ثُمَّ نَكْسُوهَا لَحْمًا. Now, of course, the flesh is gone. The flesh is all rotten. It was just bones. Then the flesh actually is created again. The flesh sprouts out of this bone. ثُمَّ نَكْسُوهَا لَحْمًا. Now, this is telling something about resurrection to us as well. How resurrection happens. We know that, of course, not every cell of our body would remain. Many of them will be destroyed. Not every part of our body would remain. Many of them will be actually eaten by, would become part of the grass or the plants, which actually will come out of our grave, and then animals would eat from it, and then those animals will be eaten by other animals. So not every cell would remain. But if a piece of bone remains, or even if one cell remains, that cell will regenerate. It's somehow clone itself into a body like this. This kaifa nunshizuha, look how the life comes back to these cells, and how flesh is created over it. Thumma naksuha, we clothe it with flesh. Look how it happens. فَلَمَّا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ, when it became evident to him, it means he understood very clearly how it happens, how Allah revives the dead. He understood very clearly. فَلَمَّا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ قَالَ أَعْلَمُ أَنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَىٰ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. أَعْلَمُ, he doesn't alimtu, now I know. No, I know that Allah is powerful to do everything. But now I see how it happens. Because we do not expect this prophet to say, no, I didn't know, for example, that resurrection will happen, but now I know that it will happen. No, I know that Allah has power over everything. But now I can see this ilmul yaqeen actually is turned into aynul yaqeen. The knowledge that he had for sure in his heart had aynul ilmul yaqeen, now comes to aynul yaqeen. He can see how it happens. And seeing is very different than knowing, isn't it? We may know something, but when we experience it, it's very different. When we see it, it's very different. We may know that Allah will reward, for example, paradise to good people, but seeing how it happens is very different from knowing it. So this is one example. The other example, which is even more dramatic than this one, is the example of Ibrahim when he asked the same thing. وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ. Now, the previous example doesn't mention the prophets, who that prophet was, what that city was, because not every prophet has the sort of position of Ibrahim alayhi salam in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah doesn't mention every prophet in the Quran. But here is a special treatment for Ibrahim, of course. It's very different from the previous one. The previous one, Allah made him die, and then he was resurrected, showed him how the dead comes to life. Here, وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّ أَرَنِي كَيْفَ تُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى. And when Abraham said, Ya Rab, show me how you revive the dead. Show me. Not that I want to have faith or belief. No, I know, certainly. And actually, the statement after قَالَ أَوَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ, do you not believe, is a rhetorical question. It means you believe why you want to see, isn't it? In fact, Washairi in Lataif al-Ishara says that actually Ibrahim said all these things just to hear this from God. You are a believer. أَوَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ. You are a believer. Why you are asking this? So, if Allah says to us, أَوَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ, that's a rhetorical question, that's a great honor for us, isn't it? So, قَالَ أَوَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ قَالَ بَلَى, of course I believe. وَلَكَنْ لِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي. I want more itmi'nan in my heart to see how it happens. It means he wants to move from ilmul yaqeen to aynul yaqeen. كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم. If you had علم اليقين, you could see now the hell. ثم لترونها عين اليقين. Then we'll see you will see it by vision of the eyes. You will see it with yaqeen, which comes from experience and vision. قال بلى. Here again Qushayri says كان في طلب في زيادة اليقين. He actually wanted deeper yaqeen. And this shows Iman, as Iman can become deeper and deeper and deeper, yaqeen also can become deeper and deeper. And this is very interesting. And this is how the prophets are actually differentiated, distinguished from each other. تلك الرسل فضلنا بعضهم على بعض. The Anbiya, the Rusul, we have given merits to some more than others. فَضَّلْنَا بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. And this is because the depth of their yaqeens are different. All of them have yaqeen. Not that any one of them would have doubt or hasn't reached in his iman, hasn't reached the station of yaqeen. All of them have yaqeen. But yaqeen has different depths. So here it says that كان في طلب في زيادة اليقين فأراد أن يقرن حق اليقين بما كان له حاصلا من أين اليقين. Wanted to put these two together. قال أولم تؤمن. You are a believer. Why you ask that? قال بلى ولكن ليطمئن قلبي. Now, here, as you see, this is a greater light. الله ولي الذين آمنوا يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور. In the previous one, as I said, Allah made him die, resurrected him, showed him. Now said, okay, let me teach you how to do it, isn't it? Not that let me show you, let me teach you how to do it. قال فخذ أربعة من الطير فصرهن إليك. He said, take 4 of the birds, then cut them into pieces. ثم جعل على كل جبل منهن جزءا. Then cut them into and place a part of them on every mountain. They say he placed them on 10 mountains. And so he actually took these 4 birds. Different, of course, names are mentioned about these birds. For example, the hoopoe, the rooster, the eagle, pigeon, and other things are mentioned. Other birds are mentioned. So he actually took these birds, slaughtered them, minced them, actually mixing all those minces of the meat together, flesh together, and then made it in 10 pieces, divided into 10 pieces, put 1 piece on every mountain. ثُمَّ ادْعُهُنَّ, then call them. Now this call, of course, was something that Allah taught him of his name, Muhi. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come. Muhi is the name by which Allah, of course, gives life to the dead. As we have in the Quran, يَوْمَ يَدْعُوكُمْ فَتَسْتَجِيبُونَ بِحَمْدِهِ, the day when he calls you and you respond with praise of your Lord. فَتَسْتَجِيبُونَ, this call which is actually manifestation of one of his names. Allah taught that to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Now this is a great thing, isn't it? Of course, this is done after the tests have been completed. No one can have such a thing, learn such a name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be able to call dead to life. Isa alayhi salam was given that name, isn't it? وَيَسْتُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى بِإِذْنِي, you did it with my permission. Of course, Isa did it not as a routine thing, just maybe once or twice. But here, Ibrahim was taught that name. And he said, now call them by that name. ثُمَّ ادْعُهُنَّ يَأْتِينَكَ سَعْيًا, and they will rush towards you, they come to you hastening. وَأَعْلَمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ, know that Allah is almighty, all-wise. So if this process of life and death is in place, if the dead should come back to life, first of all, it is all done by might of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and secondly, it's all by his wisdom, which is, of course, unknown to us. Now, let's look at some of the riwayat in this respect. In Mahasan al-Barqi and in Tafsir al-Ayyashi, سئل الرضا عليه السلام أكان في قلبه شك, was there any doubt in the heart of Ibrahim about that? Because many scholars and commentators in Ahlul Sunnah have said that yes, he had some doubt about it, which of course is not conceivable. It's not possible that someone like Ibrahim having such a doubt about resurrection. كان في قلبه شك قال لا كان على يقين ولكن أراد من الله الزيادة في يقينه. He had yaqeen, he wanted deeper yaqeen, increase in his yaqeen. As I said, as we can increase in faith, of course our faith rarely reaches that station of yaqeen. During our lifetime, inshallah, after we die, we reach the station of yaqeen. But during our lifetime, usually, rarely our iman reaches the station of yaqeen. He had yaqeen, he wanted to make it deeper. And there's one hadith in Kafi and Ayyashi from Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam, Tafsir al-Ayyashi. لما رأى إبراهيم عليه السلام ملكوت السماوات والأرض, when Allah showed him the malakut of heavens and earth. By now I think we have explained what malakut is, that aspect of creation which is directly connected to Allah, and anyone who sees the malakut can see the connection of creation to Allah. That would be absolute yaqeen. There is nothing after that which create a little bit of doubt in the heart. However, even that yaqeen could become deeper and deeper. After Ibrahim saw malakut of the heavens and earth, التفت فرأى جيفة على ساحل البحر. He saw a carrion on the shore of the sea. نصفها في الماء نصفها في البر. Half of it was in the water, half of it was in the on the shore. And the fish in the sea were coming and somehow nipping and taking some flesh from it, eating, and other fish came and ate those other fish, the fish which had taken. And the part which was on the shore, the animals were coming and taking from the flesh, and other animals jumped on them. Some of them eat other animals, and he saw that this flesh, everything is become mixed. The cells, some go to the body of the others, and so he became a bit confused how Allah revived the dead. That's when he said, قَالَ رَبِّ أَرِنِي كَيْفَ تُحْيِي الْمَوْتَ, how you revive them. فعند ذلك تعجب إبراهيم مما رأى وقال رب أرني كيف تحيي الموتى. And show me how you revived it, and how these parts of animals who have gone into other animals will actually make the body of these different animals. As I said, these show that animals will also be resurrected like us physically. قال أولم تؤمن, and قال بلى ليطمئن قلبي. And the rest of it is, as I mentioned, that he took 4 birds and minced their meat and mixed them, then made it into 10 parts and up until the very end. Now, there's another angle to this, which actually explains أولم تؤمن قال بلى ليطمئن قلبي. In Uyun Akhbar al-Riza, he says that إن الله تعالى أوحى إلى إبراهيم. Allah revealed to Ibrahim, إني متخذ من عبادي خليلا إن سألني إحياء الموتى أجبته. I am going to assume a Khalil, a very close friend from among my creation, among people. And that Khalil would be such that if he asks me to revive the dead for him, I will do it. فوقع في نفس إبراهيم أنه ذلك الخليل. Ibrahim figured in his heart that he may be that Khalil. Why Allah told him this? That I'm going to take a Khalil is very, very close friend. Someone who has no secret with his friend, for example. It happened to Ibrahim thinking that, why Allah mentioned this to me? Maybe he wants to take me as that Khalil, and then to make sure that he was right in his estimation, قال رب أرني كيف تحيي الموتى. My Lord, show me how you revive the dead. قال أولم تؤمن قال بلى وليطمئن قلبي على الخلة. Yeah, I want my heart to rest assured that I am that Khalil that you are talking about. And then the story goes the same. There's one sort of mystical interpretation of this as well. I leave it for next session, inshallah. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi tahirin.
Thank you, Majid Sheikh. Now you have about 15-20 minutes for the discussion. Any brothers or sisters want to start?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much, Sheikh, for that explanation. What it shows the fascination of the Quran, and in the ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He yatluha alayna. There's few things in my head as you were trying to explain this. One is This ayah was an ayah for these people out there. And the more you get into the level of yaqeen and the understanding of that ayah, it feels to me like it is an ayah for us to believe in as well. Therefore, I've got a couple of questions in my head. One is, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَا الْقُرْآنَ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ لَحَافِظُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that so that this is a reminder for all of us and for people to come that this is the true book of Allah. And secondly, as this ayah has happened, which is a miracle, do you think there are no miracles in our life, or is there any miracles in our life? Just a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Well, for me, every child who's born is a miracle, isn't it? From a drop of water, becoming someone who can walk, who can think. I mean, all of us are miracles. But the point is, because this has become a sort of habitual thing, we want to see things which are not regularly happening as a miracle. Well, it may happen, sometimes happens, people take heed of that, people don't, but it's very difficult to say this was a miracle or was not a miracle. It certainly happens individually for people as well. Sometimes things happen in a way that one thinks, oh, wow, this was a real miracle. But I don't think we need these miracles. These miracles are people who are absolutely doubtful, wants to see something extraordinary. Otherwise, everything in our life, I mean, every shoot which comes out of the ground is a miracle. And we can see that every day. However, there are things, yes, that are unknown to us. We are eager to see how they happen, as this happened to these honorable people. And Allah wouldn't do it just for their sake, probably, except in the case of Ibrahim. Or maybe he did it to actually report it to us, that this Ibrahim did this, I gave this power to Ibrahim. So it was a miracle as well. Would extraordinary things happen in our lives? Maybe. I mean, it depends how we look at things. It depends how we look at things.
Thank you. Any sisters? Any other brother?
Shaykh, Assalamu alaikum. One of the points you made earlier is there's a lot of mentions about miracles in the Quran, this miracle and that miracle and that miracle. And yet at the same time, we see that Bani Israel had so many miracles. It was literally falling from the sky, and it made absolutely no difference to them. So on the one hand, what's the point of all these miracles when we see evidence that really doesn't turn people's faith?
Well, it's not the case that everyone just turn a blind eye on miracles. Maybe a miracle guide many people. As we say, يُضِلُّ بِهِ كَثِيرًا وَيَهْدِي بِهِ كَثِيرًا. He guides many and misguides many by these miracles. And sometimes if everyone rejects the miracles, then of course the punishment would come upon them. But that only happens when a prophet comes. The miracle is sort of proof of his mission, that if people reject, then Allah will destroy that nation, of course by saving the believers as well. But every miracle has this power that convinces some people. That's enough for it. And those people who want to be convinced, they will be convinced. Others will just left to themselves.
Thank you. Any sisters? Brother in front, I think, Riyadh.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. To me, this was a session of increasing your belief. There's a very subtle mention, what you said about the bones, then creating the flesh. And we've all seen on TV the little mouse which has an ear growing on the back of it. Can you see the relation here? So if it was an Islamic scholar who had become a bioscientist, just by reading that little bit of the ayat saying that the bones were creating the flesh, now we know there is DNA inside that bone that actually guides the flesh to come on top of it. Yes, so it's amazing to me straight away that little thing has actually increased your Iman in that the Quran has hidden treasures. that's the believing part. The difficult part is we did mention in the time of Ashabul Kahf that whoever is resurrected don't normally live very long after. Could you expand on that? Because the people of the cave, they didn't live very long after that.
I don't remember. I said whoever. I said these people didn't live long after that. There were other instances, like for example, some people were revived and lived for a short while and died. But there are other instances that, like for example, in the case of the 70 people who went with Musa alayhi salam to the Mount Sinai to be witness, and then they asked to see God with their own eyes. He said, Ya Musa, lan nu'mina laka hatta nara Allaha jahratan. We do not believe until we see God with our own eyes. So Allah killed them, and they were punished. But with the dua of Musa, they came back to life, and they lived for a long time. So it's not the case that every instance of it would be the same.
Okay. Any sisters before we go back to brothers? No, brother.
Alaykum salam.
Thank you. So if death is like a short sleep and resurrection is like an hour, is it, if someone was in their grave, would there be, would they experience trials or other experiences that could last hundreds of thousands of years?
Yeah, that's what I said. You know, we have one experience of barzakh. So when we die, we go to barzakh, and that's the world of the grave. And we live there for a long time, maybe several thousand years, depending when we die. But after that, there is a total death. I mean, the soul will die when the trumpet is blown. The soul will die. It's between that time and resurrection, which may take billions of years, that the soul is absolutely asleep. And when they wake up, they do not figure how long they had been sleeping. Otherwise, it's not about barzakh. It's about that period.
And sorry, I have another question just while I'm here. So Ibrahim placed a bird on 10 mountains. Do we know how long it took him to do that? Or was he given the power to be able to do it in one day?
Well, if you are actually in a range of different peaks close to each other, you can do that in a couple of hours, isn't it? I mean, taking it on to different peaks and put it on top. Certainly, it took him some while, probably.
Thank you. Any sisters?
It was worth it, isn't it? I mean.
Okay. Brother Nizar?
Salam Sheikh. So, listening to you today, I'm more inclined to think that resurrection is going to be a physical body.
Well, all indications in the Quran is that it is by physical body, yes.
So the next question arises, what age?
Well, it depends how we have performed in this life. Some of us will be resurrected ugly, some of us beautiful. They say everyone who enters paradise is at the age of about 30, in the prime age of flourishment and things like that. But about the people of hell, I don't know what age they will resurrected. Certainly not old. They will come back. It is a type of cloning which doesn't actually take people into very old age, at an age where people are quite mature in the sort of peak of their understanding, their physical stature. And we don't know whether it would be exactly the same size, the same form. It may be different. And also we know that people, due to their different actions, would have different sort of construction, bodily construction, when they come back to life. This is one of those things that you ask Allah, Allah, show me. How would it happen?
Because our previous discussions, I think, have actually been balanced between whether it's just the soul that's going to be resurrected rather than physical body, because once you start thinking about physical body, obviously you start thinking about its nutritional needs, its excretory needs.
It's all looked after, don't worry. Yeah, we have hadith about all these things. Nutrition, especially nutrition before entering paradise and hell on the day of judgment, because that's going to be a long time. What they eat, what they drink. So, yeah, about excretion, about people of paradise, we have that there's no such a thing there, so the body changes in that form. About people of hell, I don't know.
Thank you. Any sisters? Zuhair at the end. I think it's Zuhair if you don't mind, because you already had one chance.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
My understanding of yaqeen is absolute certainty, in the sense that there is nothing further than that. The Quran doesn't say that it's to increase my yaqeen. The Quran says itminan qalbi, which would suggest that the heart is not sort of 100% settled. Can there be ziyadatun fil yaqeen?
Well, as we read from the hadith by Imam Raza alayhi salam, in hadith by Imam Raza alayhi salam, yes, he said he wanted ziyada fil yaqeen. Certainly, if we have ziyada in faith, we should have ziyada in yaqeen. There are always veils that should be somehow removed. No matter how far we go close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there should be. However, there's one statement from Imam Ali alayhi salam, which says that لَوْ كُشِفَ الْقِطَاعُ مَزْدَدْتُ يَقِينًا. If all the veils go away, I would not add any yaqeen. No yaqeen would be increased in me. Does that, so first of all, it means that yaqeen can be increased. So mazdat to yaqeen, I mean yaqeen can be increased. However, in his case, he said that maybe I have that ultimate yaqeen. There's nothing that could increase my yaqeen anymore.
So how do you define yaqeen then?
How do you find yaqeen? It's by deepening the faith. So the deeper and deeper the faith goes, then deeper and deeper yaqeen comes. Closer and closer you go to yaqeen. And then in yaqeen as well, you can go closer. And that wouldn't come before tests and trials, certainly. I mean, trials that would shake one's faith if they are not capable of dealing with it. We have one, maybe it's a hadith or statement, I'm not sure, but it says that مَنْ صَبَّرَ عَلَى مَكْرُوهٍ أَصَابَهُ مَلَأَ اللَّهُ مُشَاشَهُ إِيمَانًا. Whoever has patience over a test, or makruh, sort of displeasant things that strike them, then Allah will fill their bones with Iman. So when one's bones are filled with Iman, gradually it tends towards yaqeen. The Iman is something which we need to experience its different levels. It's not something that can be explained. Its different levels are experienced by different tests in this world. Then different aspects of it will become clearer to us. Then when that goes further and further, yaqeen is further. However, not many people are given that yaqeen. We have in hadith that the least thing that the mu'mineen are given is yaqeen. Yaqeen is not something easy to attain. However, after that yaqeen is attained, still, I mean, you can be at the first step of yaqeen, you can be at 10th step of yaqeen. So that is matter of increase as well. And maybe that is how Allah says, تِلْكَ الرُّسُلْ فَضَّلْنَا بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. Why this tafsil comes? Because of different experiences of the heart.
So, for example, usually when we talk in terms of certainty, it is said that you cannot then say, well, I'm certain that this is going to happen. Then you cannot turn around and say, well, no, actually, it didn't happen. That kind of understanding of certainty doesn't seem to apply here.
No, certainty, because there are different aspects of, I mean, when you think about God, there are different aspects, okay? So you may have yaqeen in certain aspects, you may have no knowledge about other aspects. And by deepening your yaqeen, you gain knowledge about other aspects as well. And then that is how the yaqeen would increase. Of course, this is not an area that we can talk about because it's not something that we have. But by going through narrations, but going through different explanations given by prophets and imams, we may figure out something like that.
Okay, any sisters?
Do we know why why the mu'mineen are not giving certainty or yaqeen?
It's something that we have to acquire, because it's just like Iman, that we have to acquire Iman. Iman is not something predestined for us. It's due to our desires, our attitude, what we are inclined to. We increase Iman little by little. And yaqeen should come after that. So it's not something that Allah just gives to people. It's something that we have to acquire. Except, as I said before, there are some people who are given this as a grace so that they can guide others to it. If no one has yaqeen altogether and they have to acquire it, so how could some people guide others? So some people are given it as a grace, and then they will be guided to others.
Thank you. We still remain with the ladies, sisters, before we come back. No, please, you continue. Go back to the brothers then. No, you continue, please. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for a very beautiful explanation. The question arises is, okay, for ordinary human being, there is a different level of Iman and different level of yaqeen. But the question arises when the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam was such a caliber, and when you sort of a question, when you're believing 100% certainty, whatever he says should be true. So when things like this happens, if you have certainty about certain things, how can you ask questions?
Now, you see, as I said, Ibrahim didn't have any doubt that Allah has the power to revive.
Then I should have to believe in whatever he says.
No, he believed, but he wanted to see.
So that means you have a doubt. When you question an authority, that means you have certain doubt.
No, he was not in doubt. It's just like, for example, when I tell you that I can cook something, for example, very delicious. You say, you certainly believe in me that I can do it. But you say, okay, show me how you do it. I want to learn as well, okay? This doesn't mean that you have doubts. This means that you want to see the procedure and the process. Ibrahim wanted to see that process. He was not in doubt at all. As Allah said, أَوَلَمْ تُنْ قَالَ بَلَى. Yes, I believe. Certainly I believe. But that itmi'nan, which is very difficult to explain here, what that itmi'nan that he asked for, لِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي, he wanted to see how it happens. Or Prophet Uzair also wanted to see how. Wanting to see doesn't mean that he was in doubt. We may be in absolute certainty that people will go to paradise and hell. But some of us may ask, Ya Allah, show us how it happens, okay? Of course, all of us will see later on, inshallah, but show us how it happens. This doesn't mean that we don't believe. It means that we want to have extra knowledge that brings that certainty, take it deeper and deeper.
Thank you. Yes, doctor. Yeah.
Alaikum salam.
You said that animals will be resurrected as well. So will there be judgment for them, or what will they be asked? And secondly, what happens to the animals we have eaten?
The same thing with that animal that was eaten, isn't it? that Ibrahim saw. As I said, even one cell, if one cell of any living being remains, as we have in some hadiths, that if that one cell is enough, that Allah would resurrect you through that one cell. And nowadays we know how it happens, isn't it? Now it is very clear. But in those days we didn't know. They didn't know. But when they say even one cell will be somehow developed into a full body, it happens like that. So even the animals that we have eaten, one cell of them would not transfer into our cells. And the same thing with us. And so everybody would be resurrected. Whether all animals will be resurrected or not, we don't know. Or some animals will be resurrected, some will not be resurrected. There are certain animals we are not allowed to eat, isn't it? Maybe the animals that we eat will not be resurrected. Maybe other animals that we do not eat will be resurrected. It's a very complicated thing, isn't it?
Will they have to give an account of what has happened in their lives?
No. You know, we have many narrations that yes, the animals will be accountable for what they do. In the Quran it says, وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَا طَائِرٌ يَطِيرُ بِجَنَاحَيْهِ إِلَّا أُمَمٌ أَمْثَالُكُمْ. There is no living being on the earth or birds that fly. It doesn't say anything about fish. I don't know, maybe on the earth may include fish, or maybe fish would not be resurrected. We don't usually, it's a very complicated thing. It's the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it says, إِلَّا أُمَمٌ, they are communities like you. ثُمَّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ يُحْشَرُونَ. They will be resurrected to their Lord. So they will be gathered to their Lord for judgment, certainly. And in many narrations that we have, yes, they have judgment. So it means that this very sweeping idea that animals do not have free will, or they do just things because of their instinct, or they do not have intellect, it's all wrong. It's all wrong, and there are several examples in the Quran about it, that how animals may be intelligent, may have the power of free will and voluntary action. And we see this in our daily life as well. Animals are very different from each other. The way they behave are very different from each other. Two dogs behave very differently from each other, isn't it? So in Hadith we have that, yes, Allah will resurrect them, but question them, and will take the right of the mazloom among them from the zalim among them. So this is what...
So they will be either sent to hell or heaven?
We don't know. قال رب أرني, Ya Allah, show us how these things happen. We don't know.
Any sisters?
We know that there are certain animals in heaven with us, inshallah, if we go to heaven. There are certain animals in hell, punishing those who are in hell. We know that. However, what is the criteria? What are the criteria? How it happens? We don't know.
Sheikh, for us to have a faith in yaqeen, we have accepted it, the Quran and the stories or the incidents they say. But then as we, for example, for us, would it not be sort of to have first of all a faith in yaqeen in the Prophet first, for us to have more faith in yaqeen on all these incidents that are mentioned in the Quran? Because for the prophets who experienced all these incidents, they were directly connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But for us to be able to have clear yaqeen and faith in these incidents that are mentioned in the Quran, I suppose we would have to have that level of faith and yaqeen in the Prophet, isn't it?
These things are very superficial. I mean, yes, we all believe in whatever is in the Quran. Okay, it's very superficial. But if you want deeper faith, then God would tell you, okay, deeper faith comes through certain sort of tests. If you are not tested, if your faith is not shaken, then how you want to go through that deeper? It's not about these things. It's about your faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes some of us, and that's why Allah wouldn't test us like that to give us deeper faith, because many of us would shake in a way that we just lose faith. If we are tested in that way to get that deeper faith, then we lose faith. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our wali. He knows how much we can tolerate, okay? He gives us that amount. He leaves us with that faith, okay? He doesn't want to take that faith from us. He leaves us with that. But for those who really want deeper faith, ask morning and evening, Ya Allah, give me yaqeen, give me yaqeen. Then Allah says, okay, let me see whether you can have that capacity for deeper faith. And then that comes certainly through tribulations, tests, and these things which happen in this world. It's not about these, for example, believing in whatever is in the Quran. It's about the connection with Allah, faith in His decisions, trust in His wisdom, trust in His decrees, that determines the level of faith and level of yaqeen, of course. And superficially, with any level of faith, we may believe in whatever is said in the Quran, for example. Of course, in that also some of us have doubt, isn't it? In that also some of us have doubt. But say we believe in all these things, we believe in all worship and everything, but we are not satisfied with what we have. We are not satisfied with this type of sort of loose connection. We want deeper connection. We want deeper tawakkul, so to speak. Many of us don't know what tawakkul is, isn't it? Because it doesn't mean anything for us. But when it comes to real tawakkul, real reliance, real trust, then it doesn't come except through certain tests that we have to go through. And that's why Allah says, وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنْ. Allah tested Ibrahim with certain kalimat. He completed them. Then he came to that level of yaqeen. قَالَ إِنِّي جَعَلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا.
Thank you. Any sisters? I think brother there, one more. Yep. Yeah, this. You want Orion? Yeah.
Just very quickly on the accountability of animals, you may not be able to answer this, but how does an animal be held accountable for his actions? Like a tiger needs to kill to be able to eat. What if it if it kills a human, it'll be held accountable for that, or is it if it kills, let's say, a rabbit to be able to eat and feed its family, will be?
They are not accountable for their risk, like us. We are not accountable for killing all these sheep and cows and things, chickens, you know. We are not accountable because we are allowed to eat them. As I said, maybe they are not resurrected. We don't know. But the animals and like animals of prey, they are certainly accountable for what they do, not for their rest that they have to eat, but for other things that they do. Sometimes they wrong each other. They do attack each other, for example. They will be accountable for that. We have in hadith that an animal with horn attacks an animal without horn. And Allah on the Day of Judgment will revenge for what he has done, not for eating, just for attacking, and that will be their accountability.
Thank you.
Any sisters? Last one. Any brother? Any brother? Last one or sister? Anybody? Anybody? No? Okay. Thanks, Muhammad wa ali Muhammad Salawat.